Good evening, everyone. Greetings and love. I am Marcia from Gnoshery Libertas, and this is Sanctuary, episode 39, which is pretty crazy and hard to believe. Initially, this episode was meant to air last Monday, October 10th, but due to circumstances of having to often act out the light transmission that Spirit presents, I was not available last Monday. So this Monday is when the light transmission is actually being presented. And often we kind of walk through a portal or a realm of consciousness. And sometimes, we have that gnosis ahead of time, some intuition about what's going on, but sometimes we're walking into things very blindly, and it's purposeful and meaningful. And so tonight we're going to kind of talk about that and why that's occurring, not only individually, but collectively. And before we start, if you are interested in joining us live, you can find Gnoshery Libertas on patreon.com. You can also search us as Gnoshery Cafe on buymeacoffee.com. And additional ways to connect one-to-one for readings or mentorships with Spirit. These are personal, individual readings and mentorships. You can also go to our website at gnosherylibertas.com or email gnosherylibertas@gmail.com. We would love to have you. We would love to connect. And every Monday evening, we get together to create a sacred space, to create a heart opening, not only on our personality levels, but on a collective level, where we tune into what I call the weave, which was a term that Spirit, Great Spirit, Holy Spirit, whatever name you want to call the nameless, or that which kind of moves through us and is also much bigger than us, and often has the wider or eagle eye perspective that our more linear, narrow view of our human self can't always, see this bigger picture. And so we gather every Monday night to connect these energies, to kind of bring the highest and greatest weave together through allowing Spirit to move through us, and also to kind of just have this ability to allow the human self, the ego self, the personality self, the part of us that is experiencing this, that often feels that life is happening to us. Connecting in with the Spirit with a capital S allows us to understand that life is happening through us and for us. And so when we start to have that more meaningful perspective, things begin to make sense on a much greater and deeper level. And of course, that brings the personality, human, ego self, whatever you want to call the smaller self, a lot of peace, a lot more calm, and the ability to move through some of these more challenging circumstances, both individually and collectively, with a responsive nature rather than a triggered or reactive nature. So each week, Spirit will bring forth what Spirit calls a light transmission, or a reading of the current energies from Spirit's perspective, and also giving us practical physical action steps that we can take on a human level to make sure that we are in alignment with our divinity, with our soul, so that we are always right place, right time, and we are receiving that intuitive information and those subtle nudges and nuances that we get when we are connected to our hearts and to the weave. So tonight's light transmission is called The Way I Am. And when I was in meditation, the song The Way I Am by Ingrid Michaelson came on. And often throughout these readings, you will hear me refer to lyrics that Spirit activates during my meditations. And Spirit will use these lyrics to help us understand soul concepts that might be harder to grasp from a linear perspective. And we all know that music, sometimes cuts right through the BS and goes right to the heart, totally surpassing the mind. And so Spirit will often activate certain lyrics that highlight the energies of our light transmission. So the way, I am. And here, Spirit referring kind of to a double entendre, the way being the way, the truth, and the light, the way to connect to the greater I am presence. And to the human mind, that really doesn't mean anything until we have experienced it within our own heart. But the beauty of that is just our desire to connect with that greater I am presence will allow that opening to take place. And in order to do that, the smaller self, the part of us that is kind of living the human experience, we are challenged to accept ourselves the way we are, that the gateway or the portal to this higher I am presence is to begin to love and to see ourselves through the eyes of God, which is love. And so tonight, as we explore this light transmission of the way I am, we will also explore the supporting energies that will help us and uplift us and nourish us. In fact, the first energy is the Divine Mother, nourishing and supporting, and bringing us into this place where we are free from judgment and free to love, where we can release attachment. And Spirit says, awaken the soul, which allows us to have full responsibility and accountability for our lives. And finally, returning to the womb of the earth, or Spirit called this the mother of second chances. And so over the next few months, we're going to feel this energy of second chances coming through both individually and collectively. And things are going to start going even more haywire on what Spirit calls the middle realm, or the realm that the human personality is experiencing, the external, what we would call our reality, what Spirit calls reality with a lowercase r. And as all of this is kind of going into even more mayhem than normal, the upper realms and the lower realms are becoming as one. And this upheaval that's happening on the middle realm is all necessary, because Spirit is saying we can no longer ground our energy into people or careers, identities, or distractions, that we need to have a new grounding system. And that is coming through the connection to our own divinity, what we've talked about on previous calls, our personal relationship with the Creator, which we can only know through our own hearts. No one else can be the conduit for us in that way. And allowing ourselves to be okay with not knowing, which is incredibly hard for the personality self. The ego always wants to feel secure in some way. And so we do try to ground into these relationships or these identities or these distractions or these roles that we have. And we may start to find over the next few months that some of those are just being stripped of us. And that can be incredibly uncomfortable. And so Spirit wants to show us that while that is all happening, we're also going to be starting to feel on a cellular and cellular level, a level of peace and bliss unlike we have ever experienced on planet Earth. And so there's going to be this contrast of this middle realm kind of unraveling itself on purpose, while we begin to feel the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother coming together as one for the first time in a very long time on this planet. So before I get into the supporting energies tonight, I'm going to open the floor and move right along. So I'm going to take a moment in case anyone would like to share or offer their perspective. So I talked about the song The Way I Am being on initially in the first part of the meditation. And the lyrics here were, if you were falling, then I would catch you. You need a light, I'll find a match. If you're chilly, here, take my sweater. Your head is aching, I'll make it better. And this feeling from the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother, like, yeah, things are going crazy right now. You know, if we are looking at things just from the external perspective, it can be very despairing. But if we tune inward, we can know that anytime we're falling, we will be caught. And anytime we need a light from the divine spark, we will be given that match. And we just need to be available to call on and receive that help, because this is a free will universe. Divine intervention only comes to us in moments of, you know, when we are, you know, on the verge of having like an accident or physical death, or when we beseech it. And so we're encouraged right now to ask for help, that we are moving into a place where we are going to be free from judgment and free to love. This is the energy of the black light, the Divine Mother, and that of the holy embrace. And the black light is terrifying to the personality self. The black light feels like a fear beyond death, and yet it is the ultimate embrace. But we only find that out by stepping into that portal, by walking through it. And Spirit says the way that we do that is by beginning to ask for eyes of beauty, for beginning to see ourselves through the lens of love, which then allows us to see others in all of life through that lens as well. The song, You Take Me the Way I Am, that is how love is. Love takes us exactly as we are. And we're being encouraged to let go of the ego's programs and conditionings which say that we are not enough, and instead move into this place, this new grounding system of trusting our soul, trusting our divinity. In fact, Spirit said here, imagine a world so infused with bliss, love, awe, and wonder that we naturally always feel safe, uplifted, loved, and nourished, as if we were cherished babies in the arms of the Great Mother. And I'm sure for most people, that feels like a dream. Or maybe we've had glimpses of that throughout our lives, but we're being encouraged to be the dream weavers that imagine this world now. And also that in the same way life is mothering us with kindness and compassion, sometimes when we need to grow and evolve, life will nurture and nourish us through challenge or through kicking us out of the nest. And we have to accept that this mothering can be both gentle and fierce in its phases, which can sometimes be difficult at times for the personality, the ego self to accept. And 2 weeks ago, we talked about the verse in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which reminded us that Kali Kala, or the Dark Mother, she appears black to those who do not know her. Yet to those who love her and draw near her, she is white brilliance. So once again, when we're walking into that black light, into that unknown, where we have no guide, or it appears we have no guide, the more we draw close to the divine, the more we draw near to the divine mother and the divine father, the source of God, which lives within us, the more we begin to experience this as white brilliance. Her image is as the starry night sky, and the light of the heavens and supernal abode are in her. To pass beyond, you must enter her embrace, even as the Lord embraced her. Then, through daughter Sophia, you will acquire the knowledge of Mother Sophia, the Queen of Heaven. And here, Spirit is asking us through the soul, the daughter Sophia, we will begin to know the Divine Mother, the Queen of Heaven, and we will begin to experience them in our heart as one. And so we're encouraged to be brave enough in spirit to go forth on our life path with absolute trust in the Universal Mother, that in this way, we will be able to mother others so that they too can surrender fear and live more freely and aligned to their source. And so this whole energy that we are moving through collectively and in our individual weaves, Spirit says we are learning about the frequencies of mothering and being mothered. And this may not be showing up in a physical sense in our life where we're like, I don't know what she's talking about here. This is more of an energetic sense. We might be longing to have that experience of feeling nurtured or nourished, or we may be the one bringing our soul to the place of where we are and being the mother of that space. And here Spirit said that a distorted matriarchy always leads to a distorted patriarchy. And so we hear a lot about this distorted patriarchy that we're living in. And Spirit is now asking us to find the root, to find the distorted matriarchy from where this began. And so this is where we're going to start to see a lot of the unraveling moving forward, especially over the next few months to years. Spirit also encourages us to work with groups, communities, causes, or purposes in order to bring worthwhile groups or concepts to life. So we talked about 2020 being a revisiting process for humanity, and the frequency of 2021 showing us who the spiritual adults were, who was moving in life with spiritual maturity. And 2022 really being about who's coming together, what groups and communities, causes, and purposes are worthwhile to be supporting and bringing forward. That we are connecting collectively with the Divine Mother on a spiritual level and experiencing life and respect for ourselves and all of life. So that is not, our current state of affairs with humanity, but as we begin to feel this union of the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother, we will begin to want to experience love and to respect ourselves and others in all of life. We will be moved by compassion, Spirit says, and genuinely be encouraging and respectful of people. And Spirit says most people are already living this way. but many are not. And this is the frequency that we are moving into, where the collective begins to shift its entire perspective. In fact, Spirit says, rather than people taking perverse delight when someone stumbles, and this is both metaphorical, but also physical, we're moving into the place of people who actually want to help. These are ordinary people, Spirit says, with an extraordinary natural tendency to nurture the life around them. And it's a confirmation that we are in the Universal Mother's group of nurturing spirits that are helping to honor life on this planet. Spirit says that it's time to open up to receive more nurturing in our own lives, and we can do this for ourselves. We can also choose to open up and allow others to nurture us in kind. While this makes us feel vulnerable at first, especially if we're not used to doing it, Spirit says we do not have to worry, that we will actually get used to valuing ourselves enough to know that needing love and affection from another is an opportunity, not only for us to receive, but for someone else to give, which involves being received in kind. And Spirit says here that if we're tired, if we've been taking care of everyone else around us, it is time to shift this pattern and allow life to support us as well. In fact, if we are not sending out the message to life that we are significant and important too, then the universe cannot be supportive in return. And so the Divine Mother wants us to know that she helps the helpers so that we can keep on helping. And this works well because those who have so much to give can also receive abundantly. The last part of the energy here, Spirit wanted us to know that if we've been asking life for a solution to a specific difficulty that we've been experiencing, that this message comes to say that a solution is already in gestation as we speak. It's being sorted out, and the resolution is going to come to fruition in the physical very soon. We're encouraged to hold tight and wait for the imminent birth of the resolution. This is a confirmation as well if we are interested in working with children or the inner child, with art therapy, for emotional healing, or any kind of uninhibited creative expression that would help dislodge social conditioning and open one up to more spontaneous feeling-based existence. Spirit says, do it. The Universal Mother is supporting us, and we cannot get a more powerful ally. This is also a message about love. We may find that we are loving or soon will love in a different way. And we might worry about this love, given that it defies what we have known or been taught about what love is. And Spirit says, we are becoming able to love another tremendously, even when we do not have much of a personal relationship with them. So we're starting to feel that agape love that is all embracing. And we may even question if this love is real. It is real. It's just happening at a different level to the love and attachment that we experience when we're involved in a personal relationship with someone. It is not more or less. It is just a different facet of love. We are opening up now to loving the planet, all her creatures, the trees, the oceans, our own bodies, etc. And we are affirmed in this love and the guardianship of the earth as we return to the original Earth Keeper status. We are now supported in our work so that we do not become drained, depleted, or lost in despair, or have a fear of futility. Instead, we are energized and expanded by our dedicated service and devotion to life. For those who may be feeling lost, alone, or lonely, or in need of greater nurturing from others, we are asked to stop, to relax, and to center, settling into our body to feel our connection with life itself. The air in our lungs is the same air that moves the trees. The water in our blood is the same water that fills the oceans and is moved by the phases of the moon. The flesh of our body is the same substance as the body of the earth herself. And the heat in our digestive system is the same heat as that from the sun. We're encouraged to feel these connections and then to do something kind for another without agenda. Make a donation, offer eye contact or a smile, send out a good thought, say a prayer, or make a wish. Remember that we are connected to life again as soon as we do so. And then the last lyrics here, who will save your souls if you won't save your own? And with Jewel, I will open the floor. Our next supporting energy tonight, under the theme of the way I am, is that we're moving through a personal and collective phase of releasing attachment. The lyrics here were: life has a funny way of sneaking up on you when you think everything's okay and everything's going all right. And this feeling that, some upheaval may have come from out of nowhere, come from left field, but that it is meaningful and purposeful, and it is here to help us to release attachment to any false realities that we may have been holding. So this is the frequency of letting go, of restriction, of fear. So any place that we may have trapped ourselves, this weave is allowing us to be liberated and released. And Spirit says we might believe that we are in a situation that we cannot free ourselves from, that maybe we are afraid to let go and walk away because of a deep sense of loyalty, duty, commitment, or guilt. Or we may feel that we will hurt or disappoint someone else if we go. Whatever the reason, we feel we have no choice but to stay where we are. The emotional attachment is great and the fear is overwhelming. The fact that we have drawn this energy into our lives is no coincidence, and the message is clear. We are being encouraged to face our fears, as we cannot listen to these fearful voices any longer. Beyond the fear is a space of love and light, which is guiding us to break free. Trust. Initially, there will be some upheaval, but eventually all will turn out well for all concerned. And we owe it to ourselves and others to remove ourselves from any toxic or stagnant situations. We deserve to feel light and free. In following the heart of our own weave, we allow others the space to do the same, which means that all are showing up in right and perfect divine timing. Summon the power of love within us, and we're asking it to guide us, to give us the strength to do what we know is highest and best. And finally, within this last energy of releasing attachment, and life has a funny way of helping you out when you think everything's gone wrong and everything blows up in your face. And so these lyrics to let us know that even though sometimes life comes and, gives us the wallop from behind that we weren't expecting, sometimes it also has a funny way of helping us out when we really need it the most, and everything, is blowing up in our face, so to speak. And so we're really encouraged that if there is a situation or something that has happened in our lives right now that is feeling overwhelming or feeling catastrophic to the small self, know that it does have meaning. It is purposeful, and it is helping us release an attachment to something that was simply no longer serving the soul. Before I move on to the final supporting energy of the evening, I will open the floor one more time. The next lyrics were: days go by, I'm hypnotized, I'm walking on a wire. I close my eyes and fly out of my mind into the fire. And the feeling here from Spirit is that a lot of people are kind of walking around on autopilot, this feeling of just being hypnotized and um, what I would say, like, distracted to some degree, where, we're walking on the wire, we're getting it done, we're moving from the task to the task, but are we really present? And so Spirit is talking about this time of awakening, of moving out of this hypnotization, that we can no longer let other people or society or backgrounds or religions dictate our lives and run them for us. And here Spirit said this means no longer outsourcing authority to spouses, bosses, religious and authority figures, co-workers, friends, family, or other influences throughout our society. We are awake, aware, and within ourselves. So once again, reminding us that we do not need a conduit other than our own heart. We know who we are and what we want, what is most important to us, and how to achieve it. And we begin to know who we truly are at the soul level. And this, of course, is massively supported by the cosmic mother and the earth mother coming together as one. We will begin to feel this in the cells, in the soul, in a whole new way. What was previously hidden is now out in the open for all to see. We are no longer viewing the world through old perspectives, programs, or pessimistic eyes. We see the world in a whole new way, through Spirit's and the soul's point of view. This awakening is truly inspirational for all of those around us. We are uplifting others and leading the way for others to awaken to their true selves. The veil has been lifted, and we are one of the awakened souls, leading the way for others to awaken fully to who they really are. And so Spirit reminds us we are the ones that we have been waiting for. Um, through taking accountability and responsibility for all the choices in our lives, we are actually creating a global shift in energy. And I misspoke when I said that I was at the final energy. We do have one more energy for the evening, so I will open the floor up one more time before we wrap it up for tonight. The last supporting energy of the way I am is that of the womb of Mother Earth. And as we spoke about earlier, second chances, that we are returning humbly to the womb of the mother. And as we do so, we are offered second chances. So we may find ourselves in a situation where we are being required to surrender something, or that we have outgrown something, or simply that we need to be humbled by something. And Spirit is wanting us to know that as we allow this to release from us, and of course, there's always a grieving and a mourning period, which we're encouraged to fully be with, but to know that this is leading us to a second chance. In fact, the lyrics here were, "Tell me, baby, where did I go wrong?" And so, if there have been weaves that have been kind of holding us back on the unseen level that maybe the conscious self was not completely aware of, we're going to be given this time to unstitch them and restitch them in the way that we desire, in the way that is most true to our heart. And Spirit says, journey inward to the dark and hidden places of our soul, where we reconnect with the ancient earth wisdom that lives within us. It is also a time to create a sacred and intimate space in the dark by lighting a candle, to observe what energies are occurring around us, and without judging them, invite them to show us their gifts. So there's always a like a law of opposites. So whenever something beautiful is happening, we can always ask it to show its other face. And when something, that the ego deems as terrible or horrible is happening, we can also ask it to show us why it is presenting it to us. What is the light and the gift that it is bringing us as well? And so we're being offered this opportunity to shed and to heal any aspects of our lives that we've outgrown, and to no longer worry that we will be consumed in the process. This is a process of beautiful liberation, that new life blooms as second chances ignite in the most beautiful and miraculous of ways. So, once again, this transmission of the way I am, and how we move into the I am presence by simply accepting ourselves the way we are. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't open ourselves up to further growth and evolution. Of course not. But it means we are not constantly thinking negative thoughts or berating ourselves or feeling like something was never enough, that we can trust that the Divine Mother and the Earth Mother are coming together to nourish and support us now in a way we never have before. And in fact, Spirit has encouraged us over the last several calls to connect with our inner child and what brought us joy. Before we had any trauma in this lifetime, if we had the space of time in order to have glimpses of feeling supported in all ways, being able to just allow ourselves to chase the butterflies and the bees all over the place, knowing that we were completely nourished and supported. And so we're going to start to feel that again in a whole new way, which then frees us from these judgmental thoughts that we have and allows us to move into discernment, where we are free to love, where we release these like grasps that we have on the outcomes and the attachment that we have to the way things need to be. And we start to show up to life as it is. And when we do so, the weave shows us that there are no moments which are not magical. And so we begin to awaken to the soul. And once again, Spirit reminds us that this requires a full responsibility and accountability for our lives. But as we do so, as we surrender that which we think we were for that which we truly are, we are the way. And we remember the I am. And as we return to the womb of the earth, we also return to the mother of second chances. So thank you all so much for being with us tonight. Those of you on the replay, thank you for gathering your energy with us as well. We look forward to meeting you next week. If anyone has any questions, feel free to take the floor. Otherwise, we can close out the space and do our tea and cookies chat after the recorded call. I will open the floor one last time. Again, thank you so much for joining us in this space. Feel free to find us on patreon.com or buy me a coffee. We would love to have you. And for those of you on the live call, let's just take a moment to connect our hearts to close down this setting, and then we can move into the space after the call. Thank you again so much for joining us.